House Bill HB 2039. Short title, Elections, Hand Count, 5%. This bill was introduced by Representative Griffin, and it will be heard in the House Government and Elections Committee on Wednesday the 27th. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about this bill. First of all, what it does, or the basic part of the bill. The basic part of the bill, all it says is that it increases from 2% to 5% the portion of the precincts that need to be used when doing a hand count. Now, this bill is very similar to another bill, a Senate bill, but it's not a mirror of the bill, because Senate Bill SB 1010, even though it deals with the same subject and were very similar, they're not quite the same. But that bill, SB 1010, is not scheduled for committee hearing. It was done last week. The only reason I am bringing this up is that last week when SB 1010 was in committee, and that was in the Senate Government Committee, it passed 5-3, but one thing happened that made us not like the bill as much as we did originally. And what happened was that instead of indicating that the number of precincts be increased from 2% to 5%, it dropped the numbers, and instead it said that it should be an amount statistically significant. Now, what makes something statistically significant?
Could be 100%.
Who decides what statistically significant is?
That's scary.
So, I don't know about you guys, I'm going to hear from you in just a second, but my take on it is that I am not so anxious to be in favor of Bill SB 1010 as I was a few days ago. Doesn't change HB 2039, so let's not get confused. I still like this bill. It's just the counterpart in the Senate is one that I don't like. And you guys have something else to say about this?
No, I agree. I never liked mystery numbers on anything. So
statistically,
to what is that? Yeah.
And as far as I know, now I did not actually read the amendment. I just read the summary of it. But in the summary, it did not specify that they had included a definition of what statistically significant means. And it could mean anything.
Absolutely anything.
Well, in this one also, I mean, it changes the number of precincts that are subject to a mandatory hand count from 2 precincts or 2% of the precincts to 5%, to 5 precincts or 5% of the precincts. But it also states that wherever you go to vote or drop off your votes, that's considered to be a precinct, as opposed to the legal definition of what constitutes a precinct. Since we're going to be getting into redistricting commission here sometime in the next year or so, changing what our precincts borders are going to be. The thing that I find that I'm a little concerned about is that this bill does not touch the presidential preference elections. It leaves those at 2%. And I think those should also be increased to 5 or 5%. So, you know, and that's my only downside with this particular bill, is that it doesn't touch the presidential preference elections. Otherwise, I think it's a good bill.
And again, this is something that we usually say whenever we agree or are in favor of a bill, but it has a section in it that we don't like. We always suggest that when people contact their legislators, they say, hey, I like this bill except for, and can you introduce an amendment to the bill, and which would fix that. And so we have the same, I have the same recommendation with this bill, that it should also apply to the presidential preference primary.
I think that it merely left out the presidential primary because it was just an oversight. I think that's what it was. When they drafted the amendment, I think it was just an oversight.
Oversight?
Yes, I think it was an oversight. Yep.
They don't make mistakes like that, do they?
Of course they do. We all do.
Then they need to remedy.
Everybody except me, I don't.
Well, all the more reason, even if it was an oversight, all the more reason to have an amendment to correct it.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
other than that, so to be clear, we still like the bill that we're discussing, which is HB 2039. We were just talking about because it's so similar, the SB 1010 in the Senate. And that one probably will come up for another hearing in a week or two, and we'll be talking more detail about that.